Welcome to Flanders! Wait just a moment. This isn't very Flandrian. There isn't a waffle in sight. And where's the ludicrously strong beer, the cobbles and the raving cycling fans? Okay, so this isn't Flanders, it's Kent. Less exciting, I grant you. But if you hang around for a few minutes, you'll at least get to see some ducks. What you'll also get to see is my brief review of the Canyon Grail AL 7.0. This was the bike that was supposed to be my steed for the Tour of Flanders sportive, the day before the tour itself on the 5th of April. Canyon kindly provided the bike for a magazine review I was supposed to do. Sadly, the tour and the sportive have been postponed, and the magazine in question is no more, so YouTube it is. Let's not waste any time. Let's look at the Canyon Grail AL 7.0. Canyon has quite an extensive range of gravel bikes under the Grail name. You may well have seen the high-end Grail CFSLX8 with its unusually constructed double bar. The AL 7.0 is a slightly different beast and it fits into the entry level of the range, but believe me, it's still great fun to ride. I'm not going to dwell for ages on specs, geometry and all the technical stuff. Instead, I'm going to give you a short impression of what I found it like to ride. And before we go on, apologies in advance for the quality of camera work. I rode this bike during lockdown, and I couldn't have anyone else filming me as I was riding solo in accordance with UK guidelines. I fixed a camera to the bike and the rest of the shots were done either in my garden or the local park in a break during exercise when we moved to the stay alert phase of the lockdown. I do most of my riding on the road, but I took this bike off-road on fine gravel trails, of which fortunately we do have a few around here on the Kent coast, as well as on some rough, rutted lanes and the normal sorts of roads I would do my usual riding on. The Grail AL 7.0 coped remarkably well on all of it. It's an aluminium frame with a carbon fork and came equipped with Shimano's 11-speed GRX RX 600 gravel group set and a press-fit bottom bracket. There's a double chainring with a 34-tooth small ring and a 46-tooth big ring, combined with an 11 to 34-tooth rear cassette. That gives you a huge range and means you can spin your way up even pretty vicious gradients. Yes, you might spin out if you really get a move on, but for most people it's fine. The shifting is crisp, and to be honest, I noticed little practical difference between this and 105, for example. The disc brakes, which feature Shimano's RT70 Centerlock rotors, are also very effective, and this is where the ducks I promised come in. I was just accelerating away from a junction when a flock of ducks? Waddled into my path by a farm, and I had no trouble stopping to let them past, even if they did take their time. The DT Swiss C1850 spline DB wheels, mounted on through axles, were just as happy on-road as off-road, and I noticed plenty of stiffness and they feel pretty bomb-proof. In the wet, I managed to run them through a couple of unseen potholes pretty hard, and they were none the worse for it. As standard, the bike ships with 40mm Schwalbe G1 Byte tyres, which Schwalbe claims are suitable for the full range of surfaces from tarmac to wet trails, anything but mud basically. They have bags of grip, and all that rubber means loads of comfort, but they are quite heavy and draggy on the road. In anticipation of Flanders, I swapped them over to some 32mm Continental GP5000s, set up tubeless, as there's more road than cobbles in Flanders. These helped transform the character of the bike and it hummed along beautifully, with the lack of rolling resistance from those Contis really making a difference. Canyon quotes the weight of this bike as 9.39 kilograms, which I presume is without pedals, although I'm not sure which frame size they refer to. I weighed my size large with my own luggage scales with the GP5000 tyres on and without pedals, and it came to 9.4 kilos. To my mind, for a rugged aluminium bike, that's not bad at all. A couple of other brief points to note. The stem and bars are standard aluminium Canyon parts, although you get a nice carbon seat post. There's also quite a narrow, lightweight Sella Italia X3 saddle that initially I wasn't sure I liked, but once I messed around with the position a bit, I grew to find it really comfortable, especially on longer rides. I had the flat green colour scheme, which looks decent in an understated, almost military kind of a way. It doesn't scream "look at me," but this is a bike that's supposed to have dirt all over it a lot of the time, so it's not really a big deal. One other small but important point to note on this bike is the extra set of bottle bosses on the underside of the frame, which gives you extra carrying capacity and makes the Grail a really exciting prospect for bike packing or long distance trail riding. So how did I find it? 2 words: versatile fun. The position isn't as racy as a road bike would be, but the handling and stability are top notch. This is a bike that retails for £1,699 in the UK. That's the same as a decent entry to mid-level road bike, but you can ride the Grail anywhere within reason. If you don't want the traffic and the noise as we slowly emerge from lockdown, then take a smart turn off the road and onto that dirt track you've been seen by the side of the road but never explored. When you've had enough, jump back on the road again and home you go. The more I've ridden gravel bikes, the more I question why you'd want anything else unless you're chasing out-and-out speed. For most of us mere mortals, the versatility and the enjoyment are the bigger prize, and with the Grail you get that in spades, so it comes highly recommended. I just wish I'd had the chance to take it to Flanders. Maybe next year.